Welcome to our Energy Connect studio at Gastech 2022. I'm absolutely delighted to have sitting next to me Paul Varello, Executive Chairman of Commonwealth LNG. Thank you so much for taking time out of this busy day 3 of Gastech.
Thank you, Julian. It's good to be with you.
And also nice to meet you in person, having done a
Yes.
Zoom interview before.
Yes.
Why don't we kick off? I know there was quite a big announcement that you did with Woodside at Gastech. Can you tell me more about it and the importance of it?
Yes, we announced our first major offtake with Woodside for really 2.5 million tons for 20 years. And it was really great because we had the Woodside folks here with us, including our CEO, and it was a great time to celebrate what was a lot of work, but we're very encouraged by it. And it set the stage for a lot of enthusiasm about our company, which I'm pleased has rolled out the way it has.
Oh, that's really good. Yeah. Now, where do you see sort of the greatest opportunities now for gas and LNG? I mean, the thirst has come back for LNG in this environment.
Certainly, yeah, the European crisis sadly has accelerated that need. But I think by every measure, while we will eventually find alternative, less environmentally unfriendly, if you will, fuels, it will take a while. And that transition will be more, as I said earlier in our interview, more of an evolution than the revolution. So I see the market continuing to be very strong. What's furthermore, of the fact that the Russian gas is maybe not going to be available, that once we get past these next couple of years, our FID will be next year, early, and then we should have shipping online by 26 to meet that market. So we're excited about that.
That's great. And, you know, we're on day 3 of Gastech. How's it gone for you so far? How are the conversations, and, you know, tell me more.
Well, I will say we've been discussing with the European buyers for many years, but there is now this new sense of urgency and a lot more enthusiasm about let's get a deal done. And when we say a deal done, it'll be as short as 10 years or as long as 20. We can do anything in between. So that flexibility, along with our ability to give indexes like TTF, is very important for these customers. So I'm very excited about the way our conversations are going.
That's really good. And obviously, at Gastech, you know, what about the importance of gas itself? You know, it's a clean energy. I think, you know, lots talk about energy transition, but I think I'd like to get your viewpoints on gas itself. And
yes, gas itself is clearly a substitute for coal and other forms of less clean or dirtier fuels, if you will, is the right way to go until such time as there is yet a better answer. And we do think there are better answers coming, but we think that's going to take time to develop and commercialize. It's important for energy to be reliable and affordable. It has to be both, or it doesn't really work.
Yeah, and you know, we're halfway through 2022, but you know, as you said, FDI in the 26. Looks like you've got a busy couple of years coming up.
We do, and we just, knock on wood, expect to get our final permits. By the end of the year, we should be through with the permitting process, although you're never through with it. FERC is always involved with you on the project side, but it's exciting for us to get the permitting behind us. And now this commercial side is working very well, and we'll be ready for FID next year.
And you know, what challenges do you see ahead for the gas and LNG sector?
Well, I think, you know, the difficulty with our customers, and I always think about it from the customer's perspective, nobody knows exactly when the next kind of energy surge will be in terms of what will happen. So they always say, gee, you want me to sign a long-term contract? And we're not prepared to do that because our crystal ball is pretty foggy on that. And indeed it should be, but we believe that if we can get them to engage in a 10-year deal and then have an option to renew, then whenever that happens, they have the ability then to turn off our gas or turn it down. So we're not asking for a 20-year commitment of the full volume. That's in a gray area that nobody can predict right now. And I think that's one of the keys to what we'll have to do as suppliers. We'll have to be sensitive to this evolution of changing in fuels.
Great. And, you know, just before we go, you know, what can you take away from this Gastech? You know, you mentioned some of the conversations, your announcement, but I'd just like to hear, you know, how, what's been going on behind the scenes or some of the panels you've been on?
Well, I'll tell you what the most interesting and wonderful part of this experience, when you come to Gastech, you get a chance to meet with people you've talked to virtually for years. So certainly the last 2 years of COVID, we couldn't travel. It was difficult. And seeing people live and in person really changes the dynamic over what happens with the TV. I think when you see the person, you build that bond even closer. That's been one of the greatest parts about this Gastech experience. People I've talked to, the customers particularly here in Europe, but also Asian customers that are coming over for Gastech, we're getting a chance to meet them other than virtually and in person, and that's made a lot of difference, so we're really excited.
Well, Paul, that's really great to hear. And obviously, you've just mentioned there about your Asian, suppliers, and Gastech's going to be going back to Singapore next year.
We're looking forward to that, and we already have our plans for our booth in Singapore.
Great. Well,
bigger and better.
Awesome, Paul. Well, really great to meet you in person, and I appreciate you coming down to the Energy Connect studio at Gastech.
Thank you, Julian. Good being with you.